Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and in this short video we're going to discuss events that took place during the previous 12 hours, and the most important updates are coming as usually from Bakhmut. As you can see, there are not much icons. If you take a look at the Russian sources map, there is an icon in the central part of Bakhmut where the Ukrainians published a few video and photo confirmation of the situation in the western fortification, and there is a small star above town by the name of Khromovo. And that happened, guys. Since the beginning of the special military operation, for the first time since the beginning of the storming operation of Bakhmut, we received the first confirmation that as a result of storming operation, as a result of clashes and fierce fightings on the north part of Bakhmut, the Russians managed to establish control over Khromovo. The Russians are saying that some sources, very reliable sources, Russian sources, reported that during the previous night the Russians managed to enter Khromovo to push the Ukrainians back from these positions, and currently they are holding this town. Maybe during the previous few hours the Ukrainians made a number of counter-offensive operations and managed to push the Russians back, but we still haven't received such a report. So let's assume that the Russians still controls the town by the name of Khromovo. Let's go to the Western sources map. As you can see, this map of course is not updated, but if that information is correct, and if the Russians still controls the Khromovo, currently this is the situation on the front line. And from this configuration of the front line we understand that this is already a cauldron, because from Khromovo position of course the Russians will try to develop their bridgehead to the west, to the southwest, of course, trying to get as close as possible to the supply roads that goes through fields between western part of Bakhmut and Nevelske, through this area. And I believe that currently the Russians managed to establish already visual and fire control over this small cloud. If we remember, we discussed that using the road between Chasov Yar and Bakhmut through Khromovo, the Ukrainians were able to support up to the level of up to 60% of entire support of Bakhmut. So that means that using the small cloud, blue cloud between Ivanovsk and Chasov Yar, the Ukrainians were able to support up to 40% of the entire support of that town. So we see that Khromovo has fallen. And at least until yesterday evening, the Ukrainians were able to support Western Bakhmut up to 40%. And currently, after fall of Khromovo, after the Russians managed to develop their attack to the south, I believe that even this cloud lost its possibilities from 140% till 10%, nothing more. So it's already a cauldron. It's already a cauldron. I believe that the Russians will try to develop more their bridgehead. Furthermore, the Western country sources are saying that the Ukrainians managed to take out the most powerful parts, brigades from Bakhmut, but I'm not sure that it's true, because it's very difficult to do this. I believe they just lost them during the fightings and so on. Now let's go to the Russian deployment map. As you can see, this map has been updated as well. The Russians, according to this map, controls the entire northern part, the area between the western fortification and the railroad ways and railroad station. So currently the Ukrainians controls just the western high buildings fortifications, the ex-military base, and the block between these two fortifications. When talking about Khromovo, this town, according to the Russian information source, is already on the Russians, and I believe that there are much more updates should come during the next day from this part between Red Cloud and Khromovo. There is a college, there is a post office that we received 2 days ago, an update that those buildings were captured by the Russians. So I believe that the Russians managed to encircle completely the Ukrainians in western part of Bakhmut, and maybe the entire situation in this area will be solved much more faster. More interesting updates are coming from Avdiivka front line. The Russians continue advancing in this area as well. They're pushing from the south of Vadiana front line direction of Severna, and today they published more videos of capturing of more different fortifications and checkpoints in this area, and they get closer to the Severna. The Russians also managed to advance a little bit to the south of Nevelske, trying to encircle this town from the south, so I expect that this town is going to fall very soon as well. And the Russians are saying that as a result of clashes and fierce fightings during the previous 24 hours, they managed to develop bridgehead closer to Novokalynove, so they're trying to push in this area as well. The Russians are saying that as a result of regrouping and some kind of like rotation operation, the Ukrainians by today managed to accumulate up to 12,000 soldiers in the vicinity of Gulaya Pole. So this is already a powerful attack feast, and possibly as Prigozhin, the head of Wagner, reported that as soon as Bakhmut falls, within the next hours, days, or maybe weeks, very close to these days, the Ukrainians will start their own counter-offensive operation. So I believe that it's time to start the accumulation process between Orekhov and Gulaya Pole from the Ukrainian side. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for your watching, subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.